Welcome to the Successful Home Inspector Podcast, where we discuss everything you need to know about home inspection from A to Z. Brought to you by Preston Sandlin and Home Inspection Carolina. We're here to share some success stories and some not so successful stories. Some things we can all learn from, and maybe, just maybe, we can help each other and raise the profession. So sit back, turn up the volume, and enjoy. Now, here's your host of the Successful Home Inspector Podcast, Preston Sandlin.
Hey, home inspectors out there, I'm here to bring you a strategy that will increase your business, and it's easy. Go to homeinspectionflyers.com, get you 5 flyers, put your logo, your information, your testimonials in there, send them off to the printing company. Within a week, you get a box full of flyers at your door, ready to go. You've got all your marketing materials for the month. Take out flyer number 1, that whole how many offices you serve. Hit those offices with those flyers and candy, and hope you have candy bowls in those offices. I'm telling you, you will increase your business. Pick out some flyers you can get into. Again, homeinspectionflyers.com. Here's the formula. Homeinspectionflyers.com. Get the flyers, fix them up, send them off to get printed. They come to your door. You take them. You get candy. You go to the offices, and you will increase your business. Thanks for listening. I have a special treat for you. I have Paul Zach from America's Call Center. Paul, how you doing this afternoon?
Oh, pretty good, Preston. How about yourself?
Good. I appreciate you coming on the podcast, and I know our listeners appreciate it, and I know you've got a lot of value to bring to the table, and I know they'll all appreciate it. Tell us a little bit more about you, because we'd like to get to know you personally.
Oh, I appreciate that. Well, I'm an old guy, but still hanging in there. But I've got a
You still have hair.
I got a wonderful family.
Right.
My wife Carissa. I have 2 beautiful daughters. One of them, Amanda, who's at school at the University of Minnesota, studying wildlife biology. Very focused on it. She loves it. And then I have another daughter who's a senior in high school.
Okay.
So between at home and at work, I'm surrounded by lots of women. So,
Me too.
I'm confused. So I spend most of my life confused with what's going on.
I know way more about designer stuff and Lily Pulitzer than a man should know.
Yeah, exactly. But also, we live in Kansas City, which I was born and raised in the Northeast, and moved around the country. But now we live in Kansas City, and my wife and I are big runners.
Okay.
She's a big marathoner, doing one in every state.
Wow.
She's at
Awesome.
state 36 right now.
Nice.
And
Nice.
so I enjoy running with her, and our kids are active. We love scuba diving. We have troubles like most home inspectors. We have trouble sitting still.
Right. I think home inspectors and all entrepreneurs have ADD. I think
Yes,
that's
we can't sit
part
down.
of the DNA or something. Now, have you run a marathon?
Yes, I have.
Wow.
I have.
That's 26 miles, right?
That's 26 miles. Yeah,
Oh, man.
and then you get to that point 2 at the very end, because
Yeah,
26.2.
that's rough.
That point 2 is the longest.
Paul, I would see those stickers on the back of cars. It took me a while to figure out what it was. 26.2 and 13.1, which I guess is a half marathon.
Yeah.
I thought it was Bible verses. I'm looking it up. So is that like Matthew?
Hey, is that John? Who is that?
Yeah. It took me a while. I'm a little slow like that. Well, congratulations. I've done a 10K, but that's all I can do.
That's
right?
still very good. You're in good shape, though, Preston.
Yeah.
You're in good shape.
Well, not too many of us grew up wanting to be a home inspector, Paul. I know I wanted to be a pilot. So tell us, and for those out there who are listening, Paul is actually a vendor to the home inspection industry. He owns a call center. But how did you come to do what you're doing, having a call center and being associated with home inspectors? How did that come about?
Well, it's a really long route,
Yeah.
So, but the short version of it is originally I'm an engineer. I'm an engineer by schooling, and then I worked for a bunch of years in big industry as an engineer, research and development engineer, that kind of stuff. But I always had the desire to run a business.
Okay.
And that's one reason I got engineering, because I thought, well, engineers are taught to think critically, to break things down into well, it's like home inspectors think that way, really. How to break things down into pieces and report on it, analyze it. But I also like running a business. I like creating and building things. So through various steps of my career, I always ended up with companies that had these entrepreneurial startups, and I
Right.
was always part of that,
Sure.
and it was really cool. So I picked up all this good business knowledge, and then I was blessed to come in contact with a home inspector and his wife who had this inspector call center back in 2003. They
Okay.
had it for 5 years,
Okay.
and so they were at a point in their life where they were ready to sell for family reasons, and we clicked when we met,
Mhm.
and I thought, this is it. This is what God has meant me to do.
Okay.
And so we agreed on it, and I purchased the company from them, and then we've just been having fun growing it and serving home inspectors since then. And it's been a blessing to me and my family, to the people that work for us, where we're providing people a good place to work, where they really fulfilled in what they do. It's nothing like helping home inspectors to feel like you're really helping a lot of people, their
Absolutely.
clients, their agents. And this is why you guys are home inspectors as well. You're helping people, and we love to be part of that.
Absolutely. Well, Paul, I, I've been through the whole gamut. One man shop, answer my own phone, off of my attic, crawl space,
Yeah.
and try to do orders in between to now multi inspector. And, it just, well, I mean, I know we're preaching to the choir when I say if you're answering your own phones, it's just,
Oh,
and
gotta stop.
yeah,
Gotta stop.
exactly.
Be
But,
a business owner. Be an inspector. Don't try. I've never met a home inspector that got into home inspecting to answer the phone.
right, right. Well, and you gave a great example yesterday. You were like, if you called a doctor and he answered his own phone, you would immediately be going,
What's wrong with you?
yeah, exactly. I don't know. I need to get another doctor. Well, so tell us a little bit about your products or your services.
Okay, well, I mean, so we're an inspector only call center. So our name is a
Awesome.
little deceiving. In fact, we're not even a call center. We're really more like the inspector's office.
Right, right.
And some of the things that make us really unique and different our services are so broad. Here's what that means. So first, we serve home inspectors only.
Mm-hmm.
So an inspector doesn't have to teach us about home inspections and everything. We know how to talk to real estate agents. We know how to talk to home buyers, real estate attorneys, mortgage brokers, home sellers. We know all of that. We know the life the inspector leads. We know what's important to him. We know what things he challenges are in during the day. So that way an inspector doesn't have to teach us all that. And that way we come faster to become a better office for him. And then we cater ourselves to his preferences. Every inspector
Right.
has things they'd like to have done their way.
Yeah.
That's why you're not working for a corporate home inspection company. That's why you guys are your own entrepreneurs. You want to do it your way. So we
Right.
bend and twist to do it your way. And then we do it really well, to a great extent. For example, when we book orders, it's not one call and done. No, it's whatever how many calls it takes to make sure that that order is ready to go, whether it's access, utilities, email addresses, following up this person, that person. We do all that work so the inspector gets delivered to him an order ready to go, so he can go do what he loves to do, be an inspector.
Right.
And so
Right.
we're very full service with what we do. We develop a very close relationship with our inspector. And another cool thing about it is not everybody will answer, not everybody who works for us will answer an inspector's phone. We divide ourselves into smaller teams. So an inspector gets a dedicated team assigned to him, and they get to build a very strong relationship, not just with him, but also his key agents and his clients. We think of ourselves as we become an integral part of his company, helping him achieve his goals.
Absolutely. And I know a lot of people who use your services, and I hear nothing but good things. But this brings me to my next question. You touched on it a little bit when you said that you're a home inspector only, because I know there's some call centers that answer calls for carpet cleaning and a couple of other things, and nothing
Right.
against them, but I mean, how can you specialize if which line am I answering now? It's hard to be a jack of all trades. But tell us a little bit what sets your service apart from other people who answer phones for home inspectors.
I think one of the things that sets us apart most has to be the people that work for us. Um, I know the other inspector call centers out there. I know all the owners. I'm friends with them. You know what I
Sure.
know, and we have different philosophies. They would never, in a million years, look at the people that we hire, or pay them what we pay them, because we hire very special people,
Okay.
and we have a very special culture at America's Call Center where it's all about care.
Right.
It's all about care, because we got to care to do a good job, and you know that too. For a home inspector to do a great job, he's got to care about what he's doing. You got to
Right.
care about that home buyer each and every time. So that's what we do.
Absolutely.
We have this care, and then we put it to work with all the great services we offer inspectors, all our knowledge of inspectors only, and oh, there's another thing. There's never voicemail during the day. And I'm embarrassed. I talked about this
Yeah.
yesterday.
Yeah.
I'm embarrassed to even have to bring that up, but there are some services out there that find that acceptable.
Well, why am I hiring you if there's a voice?
What's the
Yeah,
point, right?
yeah.
So there's no
What do
voicemail
you have
during
to
it.
say?
Everything's answered live by your friendly little team. And then we take care of everything. We
Okay.
try to be so full service. I mean, if we could get you a cup of coffee, we would. But, unfortunately, we're in Kansas City and our inspectors are all over the place, but we, in our minds, always picture ourselves, we are where they are. We want their callers, their agents, to believe that this is the inspector's office right there down the street. And
Right.
we're so good at it sometimes. There was a inspector I was talking to yesterday that told us that he finally broke it to one of his agents that his office really is in Kansas City and not where he lives. And she was amazed because she kept asking his office staff, "Can I come by and just see you guys? Can I buy you lunch?" Because she thought we were down the street. And
Right.
that's a priceless story. And she got a big kick out of it when he told her, "Well, they're not really here. They're in Kansas City." To us, that's a home run.
Yeah, well, and for the listeners out there, Paul gave an example yesterday. Like, a lot of inspectors are on ISN, and they're on the ISN when they're pulling it up, and they can see where the address is or something, and they say, "Oh, that's right below Elm Street" or something
Right,
like that,
right.
which really goes a long way because that was my big complaint. No, let me rephrase that. I had a call center way back, and that was a big complaint because it was like they had no clue about Charlotte or where anything was. And they don't. People don't like. They like thinking the people are local, and you make it
Right,
local to
right.
them. You know
Because
what I
it's a home
mean?
inspection company.
Right.
It's not AT&T or Google.
Citibank.
This
Yeah.
is a home inspector
Corporate.
who is local, and everybody wants their home
Calling a
inspector to
service
do.
center,
Yeah.
center in India or something.
So it's that local feel, and then we layer on it all our deep services so the inspector can do what he loves. Be a business owner, grow his company, and do inspections, and we take care of everything
Right.
else.
And I'll make this promise to any single man operator out there, right, and a single person operator, excuse me, that if you're answering your own phones, the cost to get somebody to answer your phone, you will make up for that in productivity way 10. It's just like anything else. If you're doing your own taxes, it's crazy.
Yeah. Oh, no.
You will save way more than the fee to get an accountant. I mean, I know in the beginning we do it all, and then that's part of the entrepreneur thing. We think, but there's certain things we need to let go of and focus on our highest value time. And answering the phones for a home inspector is not their highest value
Yeah, if you try to do
activity.
it all, and us and entrepreneurs and business owners like they feel like they do it all. But if you do that, two things are going to happen. Your company's not going to reach its full potential
Right.
because you become what's holding it back because you can't do
Exactly.
everything. And the second thing is you're going to burn out. It's not fun anymore, and you're going to wonder why did I get into this whole thing when really you lost your love because you tried to do it all yourself.
Absolutely. Now, Paul, let's say that I signed up with you. Is there a training or do we get on the phone? I mean, how do we get acclimated and up to speed with each other? How does that process
Oh,
work?
it's a get to know you process.
Okay.
So obviously we got to know the basics about email addresses, phone numbers for the inspector, his
And like
schedule,
what you do inspect and what you
we
don't.
don't inspect, and then we get down into really deep questions about, okay, for this type of house, how long do you take? For if you do commercial, how do you want us to handle commercial inspections for you? How about your hands? Tell us who your key agents are. Because when they call in, who's the ones that get the extra special treatment? Tell us who those are. Tell us about your coverage area and where you like to drive and don't drive.
Who's the
And
one's got short
yeah,
fuse?
that too. That comes up too. Handle this one with care.
Yeah.
This one's fun. This one's a little cranky.
White
This one.
glove treatment.
So we
This
go
one is psycho.
psycho. You got to get the psycho. So, but we go through all those detailed questions so that we can really understand the inner workings of each inspector's company when he signs up with us. So there's a lot of questions, but we run the process. We make it very easy on the inspector. We do go to meetings with him. We do conference calls, but we run it. He just gets to sit back cup of coffee while we ask him questions and he gets to answer them for us. Then after that, Preston, once we start serving that company, well, then everything's changeable, everything's tweakable. As it goes on, the inspector can change anything he wants whenever he wants because as his office, we just roll with it. If he changes his pricing, if he adds inspectors, if he changes his services, anything, we just add them, take care of it, and then, boom, we're running with it.
Awesome, awesome. Well, I'm changing gears on you here just a little bit, Paul. Do you have a success quote you'd like to share with us?
I think a success quote. Here, it's not so much a quote as a philosophy, and this is one that we live at with America's Call Center. You may have heard this before, Preston, because I think Ken has used it. It's called 212 Degrees Customer Service.
I've heard of that. Is that like that video too? Like,
Yes, yes.
oh, cause water. Well,
Water boil. So you've
maybe
seen the
it's
video, but there's
stealing
also a
it.
whole customer service philosophy behind that. And basically, it says, look you could do really good at your job, like 211-degree water. You put your finger, that hurts, right?
Right.
So you're doing a really hot job. But if you could do it just a little bit better, that you hit 212 degrees. Now you're boiling. And when water boils, you can do a lot more with it than when it's at 211 degrees.
Right,
It
right.
generates steam, powers the locomotive.
That's what I was going to
You
say.
could boil pasta with it. You can't do that with 211. So the philosophy we have is no matter how continuous improvement is also big with us too. No matter how good you think you are, if you get a little bit better every day, then you get to that 212 degrees. So we have bonus programs and recognition programs at America's Call Center. It's 212 degree based. And that's what that all means. Is
Awesome.
always strive to be that boiling water, not the hot water, the boiling water, because that's what really provides the power that we can give our inspectors to help them grow their businesses and take a load of work off their shoulders, because we'll take it.
Right, right. No, good stuff. Well, Paul, tell me this. I'm thinking about, I pretend like I'm a one-man shop, answer my own phone. I'm thinking about your service. Can you tell me how it's going to save me time or make me money? I mean, I know you and I know, but pretend like
Okay.
I don't know. Pretend
This
like
is
I
a
don't
good
know.
one.
Tell me how.
This is a real good one. So how do we save you time? Any inspector out there, just keep track of the time that you're on the phone, or the time that you're answering emails that have to do with scheduling inspections or arrangements, phone calls. Or keep track of all that. The numbers that we run is that on a typical inspection, the inspector, to get it set up and ready to go, the inspector is probably spending anywhere from 30 to 50 minutes on the phone. The first call, follow-up calls, reschedules and cancellations, and then typing that information into whatever system they might have, whether it's ISN or anything else. And by the way, should be using ISN. Awesome system. But when he's doing all that, that's 50 minutes of his time, and his
Right.
time is so you add all that up over 200 inspections. That's if you're just doing 200 inspections a year, that's like 21 working days
Oh, wow,
of
yeah.
being on the phone doing administrative work.
Right.
So we take that load off your shoulders, so you can come home at night and have dinner with your family and not have 5 voicemails to return.
Absolutely.
You're not doing all that admin. So we take all that work and stress off his shoulders. Like, hey, leave your phone at home. Go have a good time with your family, because we got it, and you don't have to worry about that stress. Now, for more money, every inspector knows that you're missing calls. If you're handling your own phone, you're missing calls. So those are inspections that are falling off the table into another inspector's pocket.
Right.
So we're going to get those for you. Plus add-on services, ancillary services. We get the time to talk to your clients about your add-on services that are important to you, whether it's termite or radon or mold or water testing, septic, whatever it might be. We get a chance to talk about it and upsell them. It's
Right.
good for them. It's good for the inspector. More money. Plus, the other thing we also do for him is we help his image, because now he's not the inspector, the one-man band answering his phone.
Like
Now
the
he's
doctor example.
like the doctor. Now he's a professional company.
Right. Right.
And that image causes a lot of callers to stop calling around. Those shopper callers that love to call around and say, "Well, how much does it cost?" And so what we do there is we get them to stop in their tracks,
Right.
because now they've called an inspection company that's professional.
Right. Right.
And it's not a voicemail, it's not an inspector in a hurry, in a crawl space, and it's easy to book them.
Or on break in a conference, or
Yeah, breaking a conference.
Well, as you were saying that, I saw some people, and this used to be me. It's like you or your wife are stepping out in the hall to try to take an inspection call, or even on vacation. You're not on vacation if you're booking inspections. I mean, yourself.
Yeah,
I mean,
yourself.
it's so nice when you're like on vacation, you could just look down at your phone and see that it was already scheduled for you.
Yeah,
That's
you go in,
nice.
you look at it, and you come back from vacation, and your schedule's already full.
Yeah, yeah.
You don't have to worry about trying to fill it up again. So more inspections, more add-on services, and take stress and work off their shoulders. So many inspectors that join us say, "Thank you for giving me my life back."
I hear you.
And I like that too.
I've heard many people say that. Well, I'm going to combine these two questions, Paul. And you kind of touched on a little bit there in your intro. Tell us something that most people don't know about you, and what do you like to do in your spare time? Although, being an entrepreneur, you don't have a whole lot of spare time. What would you do if you had spare time? I guess would be a better question.
Well, so one of the things we do is, we pride ourselves in helping, an inspector get his life back, and not have to be the do-it-all. So I try to learn that lesson myself. So I have great people to help me at America's Call Center who do things better than I can, and I try to do what I'm good at. So, but that also helps me. So for things I like to do in my free time, I like to spend time, like I said earlier, with my wife, out on good long runs on a nice crisp fall morning. Also, like to travel with my family.
Right.
I told you we're big scuba divers. My whole family, all my kids do. So we love to go scuba diving. We love to take vacations together because you have kids too, and I know your kids are growing fast.
They are.
Before you know it, they're gone and on their own.
Boys still have cooties though.
That's
Girls.
lucky. I got two girls too, and they're past the
I know
cootie stage.
eventually the cooties go
They're past the
away.
cootie
I'm
stage. So
just
that's
saying.
really what I like to do in my spare time is really spend time with my family. The other thing I like to do in my spare time is help those who aren't as fortunate.
Right.
So I'm fortunate enough to serve on a board of a nonprofit in Kansas City that is one of the leading organizations there in helping provide for the homeless and the less fortunate, but not just in giving them meals and clothes, but also helping them find a way off the streets to a road of
Awesome.
independence. Kind of like solve the problem. That's what we
Right.
all like to do, solve the problem. So that's the other thing I like to do in my spare time.
Awesome, awesome. Well, I'm gonna preface this next question now for all the audience out there. Again, Paul is not a home inspector, but he runs a business that serves home inspectors,
Right.
and he's on the front line. So he actually, in my opinion, probably has more intimate knowledge of some of this than some home inspectors because he probably sees it more often. So with this question, Paul, you know that if you do it, it's a numbers game. If you do enough, no matter how good of an inspector a person or a company is, they're gonna get some unhappy campers, and you're actually probably the first line that hears it.
Yeah.
So, and if I was, interested in hiring you to take over my phones, I'm interested in, all right, unhappy camper calls in. How do you handle that?
Ah,
What do
okay,
you
good.
do?
See, now here's another side. This is actually another side benefit of our service because when an inspector has an unhappy camper call in, they're probably hot under the collar.
Oh,
And what inspector likes to pick up the phone and get that blast in his ear?
while they're in the crawl space.
Yeah. So that ruins everybody's day.
Right.
So with us, he doesn't get that because we get the blast in
You
the ear.
get to get.
We get the blast in, so we're that buffer. But we get to calm him down.
Right.
Say, okay, don't worry, ma'am, it's okay. Don't worry. Our inspector's a good inspector. He runs a great company. He's going to take care of it.
Right.
Okay, so tell me your name, give me your phone number, and email address, and what exactly is bothering you.
They want
So
to vent.
yeah, they want to vent. So we let them vent, and then we write down the details, and then we say, don't worry, we'll have our inspector get a hold of you. And then once we get off the phone with them, then we get a hold of our inspector, and we say, okay, here's the story, and we'll email and text all this to him as well. But if it's an urgent hot one, we'll also call him and say, hey, just to prep you, I just emailed you this message. This woman's pretty upset. Here's what it's about. She's calmed down now because she vented.
You've got a little time.
You got a little time. So when you call her back, here's what she was calling about. Here's the inspection report. Here's here's the address. And that way, the inspector could be prepared.
Sure.
So now she's vented. She's cooled down. He calls up. He knows what the problem is. He can hit the answer on the head with her. She's impressed. Now she's happy. Problem resolved.
And he can call it when he's got the report right in front of him.
Yes.
So,
Yeah. He's not getting caught cold.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to get into some highs and lows, Paul. But first, let's take a pause for our sponsor.
Okay.
All right. Well, we're back here with Paul Zach of America's Call Center, but he runs a service to take over the phones, and I think it's much more than that, but that's the basics of it for home inspectors only. Well, Paul, we're going to talk about some highs and lows here. I really appreciate you taking the time, and I know that our listeners do as well. Tell us about a time when you failed. Take us there, and what'd you learn from it?
What I learned from there. Not many people know this,
All right.
but back in my late 20s, a buddy and I quit our engineering jobs,
Okay.
and we started this company and this is back at the very beginning stages of the internet wasn't even available yet.
You mean Al hadn't invented it?
Yeah, he was still working on it in the
He was
lab.
working on it,
He was working on it in the lab,
Yeah, right.
and we started this company where because we both moved to Denver. We were living in Denver at the time, and we both wanted to start this company where we were going to promote all the mom and pop tourist companies or hunting guides, canoe companies, those kind of services that were up in the Rocky Mountains that they had no way to reach anybody,
Sounds like a good idea.
And so we were going to be like their hub, and we were going to promote them and then do all their bookings for them. And it failed miserably. So we lost everything we had.
Oh boy.
All
I've done it too.
all our saving.
I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing with you.
So when you're literally a dime away from being on the streets yourself, that's where we were. It failed miserably. But you know what? The lessons I learned in all of that were priceless, and it helps me today. Those lessons that I learned about what we did wrong, because you can always learn out of things that don't go right. There's
Right.
always something to learn,
Right.
and as long as you can learn from those, and then not do those same mistakes again, then you're growing. Continuous improvement.
I had a similar experience with a buddy. He was back selling plasma to get money. If I wasn't afraid of needles, I'd have been selling plasma too. But I'm terrified of needles, so I'm like, I'll go pick up bottles back when you could get bottles for money. Well, on the other end of the spectrum, Paul, have you had one of those moments where I've come a long way? Have you felt that?
Yes, yes. Well, America's call center. Back when I was blessed in 2003 of meeting Dan and Candy Oliver, and they had this wonderful little nugget of a company they were working on, but we clicked, and they believed in strong customer service just like I do, and I'm a very service oriented person, and I think home inspectors in general are as well. We're very service oriented. We want to take good care of people, but back then it was me and a couple people.
Right, right.
I mean, it was like this. It was very very fun. Now we're very proud of where we've come by sticking to those principles of good customer service, putting our inspectors first, putting their agents and clients first, and just doing a good job. Don't worry about anything else than doing that. Everything else comes true. And so now as we're going through, we serve over 800 inspectors. We're now expanding office. We've now in over 10,000 square feet. Again, if you come visit us, which we'd love to have inspectors visit us whenever they want to in good old Kansas City,
Oh,
come
yeah.
for some barbecue,
I might take you up on that.
you would see we're not in some big office farm or anything. It's small individual offices with those teams in those offices. So an inspector he actually does get his own office. Those 6 people are in their own little
Oh,
office.
cool. So
It's
it's
their own
not
little.
like a
It's not a big,
yeah.
but we're very proud of where we've come in providing good service to inspectors, helping see them succeed, seeing them go from a beginner to an established inspector, now to a multi-inspector, to ruling their market, and being a part of all that.
Yeah.
And then also providing a good, respectable, worthwhile, meaningful jobs to people who really want to do good service jobs.
Right, right, right.
They really want to provide good service. And so I'm really, that's what I get the most satisfaction.
Satisfaction in giving people their life
Yes,
back.
yes.
Um, how do you think? I mean, you've been around the home inspection business quite a while now. Do you have any ideas about how you think it might change in the future?
Well, that's a really good question. We serve so many inspectors across the United States and into Canada, so we see a lot of variety in what various inspectors are doing,
Right.
and geographically as well. I think how I see it changing is I see home inspectors continue to become more that hub, that one-stop shop for as many services as possible to help home buyers during the inspection process and then also after the inspection process when they take possession of the home.
Right,
So
right.
offering more services, we've seen that through the years. I see more services like that coming along where inspectors just want to become more that larger service source for their clients and agents. It's good for their business, helps them grow, but it's also good for their clients. So that's where I see it growing. I also see more single man operations turning multi inspector,
Right.
and a lot of that's driven by the economy right now. The real estate agent or the real estate markets continue to improve. So I see more of the one man shops becoming 2 and 3 inspector operations and offering even more services to provide their agents and clients.
Sure. I think part of that is just like what we talked about earlier, that it's so hard to do it all.
It is.
Do your marketing and most guys just want to do inspections, and they're really good at inspections. You can't be good at everything because you don't have that much time.
Right, right.
That's what's great about getting a call center, that frees you up to do more time of what you're actually prefer to do and what you're really good at.
Right, the services we offer, for inspection support network and the services they offer, and there's just a lot of great vendors, call them partner vendors, that inspectors can develop relationships with that can help them put systems in place to run their companies, to run their inspection companies, and get some time back, and not have to do it all themselves, and offer all those services where it's almost like pressing the easy button.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. No, I'm totally with you. Well, now these are kind of going to be opinion questions, but I know you have an opinion because you are on the front lines, you're around this industry, and you see probably a bigger variety than most inspectors actually do. How do you? I know you see it, and I'm sure you probably field some of these calls. My contractor said you should have fill in the blank. When the contractor throws an inspector under the bus.
Throw them under the bus.
What's your opinion? I mean, I don't think you could stop it, and I'm not even sure what I'm asking here. But what's your thought? How do we sort of control or contain this to a degree? Do you have any ideas on that?
Well, when you have a third party like a contractor come in after the fact who's now trying to affect repairs per an inspection report.
He's got a motive.
He's got a motive. So the throwing under the bus is still going to happen. But I think inspectors, how they can make sure, because we see a lot of our inspectors do this as well, because we take those calls from that contractor calling up wanting to throw the inspector under the bus. And we handle them, and we get the message to the inspector so he can be prepared. And that's the key. Inspectors now are better prepared than they've ever been because they have more choices. Inspection reports continue to evolve, where there's more information, there's more photos, there's now videos being embedded, and the relationship that inspectors build with their clients and their agents is also a buffer from those people that want to throw them under the bus. So I think inspectors, as long as they're making good use of inspection reports that provide them with lots of detail, lots of pictures, even put video. And I know Dominic with Home Inspector Pro has an awesome package that does that. But that helps an inspector, have the proof. So when he gets thrown under the bus, there's proof that no, the inspector's right. Contractor,
right.
Fix what you're supposed to fix.
Right.
It is broken.
Right, and don't, of course we can't open up walls he got to open up that wall or open up that condenser unit. We can't do that.
Oh, that's right. You can't do it. It's non-destructive, non-invasive. You can't do that. So I think a lot of that is controllable by, again, with the inspector, not just his inspection report, but also when he's talking to his client and so making sure that they all know that, hey, here's the results of my visual non-invasive, non-destructive inspection. I can't, and then the contractor can still throw him under the bus, but everybody else is going to stand looking at the contractor going, that wasn't the inspector's job.
Right.
He couldn't pound a hole in that wall to see whatever it might be. Yeah.
Well, that guy on HGTV did it. Well, Paul, I want to ask your opinion on something. I think this is getting better. I might have to take this question out because some of it seems like where I'm going with this is the home inspector forums to give you. There's some good out of it, but sometimes you get some keyboard cowboys in there that just, somebody puts up a question and you just get some cyber bullies, I guess, for lack of a better word. Now, I think some of these Facebook groups, I'm seeing a lot of these pop up, and some of the guys who are, I know Gary Smith and Billy Borner and some of them that, they say right up front, if you're disrespectful, you're gone, which I think is good. But it bothers me, some of these forums that people do, it makes the profession look bad. There's just no call for it. And I don't really know what I'm asking for here, but I mean, what do you have any opinion on that or any thoughts on that?
I've seen those, the message boards, other communication outlets where it starts off with a good discussion about something and then it turns into opinions. Then it starts turning into, well, no, you don't know what you're doing.
Right.
And I like seeing, Billy's got a good one going. There's a couple of them out there that have some good, where they're right up front saying, don't do this stuff, or we will cut you off.
Yeah.
And that's the way it should be. That kind of policing you kind of have to do. To let it just go without any supervision, there's just individuals that will get in there and they're going to trash it.
Oh, yeah.
And then nobody wants to visit that board anymore because now it just gets into a name-calling contest.
No. And it's a shame because it has such a good potential.
But I'll tell you what, here's one of the things I've seen. Go back to the other question about changes in the home inspection industry. You know what one of the biggest changes I have seen?
What's that?
Is in the home inspectors themselves. I have seen home inspectors. I've done this for so long, so many years now. I've seen inspectors that have really, they're different. It could be the same guys, but they're different. They're thinking differently now.
Yeah, thinking more like a business.
Thinking more like businessman. I'd go to the ASHI conference, 12, 13 years ago, and it would look, a bunch of guys in shirts and shorts or something like that. Now, everybody's logoed shirts, good-looking pants.
I'm not sure I could.
About the good-looking.
Sure I would qualify for that.
About the good-looking pants. But now inspectors in general are just looking more like business people. They're looking more like professionals, and to me that's really exciting because it's good for everybody. And I think that also translates over to some of these forums where I think their behavior. There's standards of behavior.
Right.
Don't trash anybody like this. We're professionals. You don't see a bunch of doctors get in there calling each other idiots or lawyers. Well, they might. But home inspectors, we're better.
Well, and I'm telling you guys, if you listen out there, if you do that, it just makes you look bad. There may be 2 or 3 people that think you're cool, but there's about 100 whoever the rest of they're going to think you look like the bad person. And if you're doing this, stop. Don't put stuff about political because everybody sees that. I mean, I never understood that why like people who are famous or something they do their political views. Why would you want to alienate half of your
Yeah.
your customer base?
Yeah,
or
there's
your
certain
fan
taboo
base?
topics, right?
Yeah, I mean, I know you have an opinion on politics, and I appreciate that, but share that with your family or one to one on the couch. But when you put something on social media, it's there for the whole world to see. And I guarantee you, you have realtors and clients that are on the other team.
Yeah.
Why? To me, why? I don't know, just don't do it. If you do, I know you have the right. Hey, home inspectors out there, I'm going to tell you a creative, inexpensive way to increase your business massively. Go to homeinspectionflyers.com and get the flyers. You get 5 flyers a month. You customize them to yourself. They're turnkey, they're creative, and it's $29 a month for 5 flyers. That's less than $6 a flyer. And they are done by yours truly, Preston Sandlin. And I am a creative guy, especially when I don't take my medication. But I come up with some crazy stuff. It works for my business. I went from 1 inspector to 7 inspectors with this strategy alone. So again, for $29.95, you get 5 flyers. I do 1 per week. I send them off to get copied on the internet. I can get them for about 7 cents a piece, and I put them out in the boxes when I do my candy run. Works fantastic. HomeInspectionFlyers.com. Thanks.
I'm enjoying
Just
it.
really hope that I'm pretty sure I got that first part recorded. If not, we'll do 1 through 17 at your convenience on
Whenever
the
we
phone.
get in, don't worry about it, Preston.
I
I'm just
think
very
I pushed it, but then when I pushed it again, I was like, I don't remember it looking like that.
no,
But
I'm just very very honored that you've asked me to do this.
no, man, it's likewise. All right, well we're winding down here, and really appreciate your time, Paul. Now, you probably you have a lot of conversations with home inspectors, so I'm sure you hear a lot of stuff. Now, remember this is
Yeah.
a G-rated show.
Yeah.
Total attitudes. With that in mind, what is the craziest, wildest, or weirdest thing you've ever heard of somebody finding on a home inspection or coming across?
um, it's not so much what they found because we're before the inspection. So our inspectors that we serve, you know, close to 800 to 1,000 now. So that I'm sure they see so much stuff each day that could keep us laughing forever.
Sure, sure.
But we take the calls up front. So some of the funniest ones we have come in where people would call in and they would say, I'm hearing noises in my house, but only my wife can hear it. And when she's not home, I don't hear it. But when she's here, she hears it, but I don't hear it.
Is she taking her pills?
I know that. And other ones, people say, can you come and inspect for ghosts or supernatural beings or that kind of stuff? Or people calling in and just having the craziest idea what a home inspector does. And so there we have kind of a laugh. Or, animals. Okay.
Right.
Animals being stuck. Like we can't find the kitty. We think it's stuck in the wall somewhere. Can you come find it? We're not hearing anything, but we think it's in the walls. So just funny things like that where people call a home inspector because it's like we don't know who else to call.
Right.
Which I think is probably a compliment to home inspectors because they don't know who else to call. Well, call a home inspector. He'll know about ghosts, my wife's hearing weird noises, or the cat's lost in the walls. It's kind of a compliment to an inspector that somebody would think this guy can do everything.
That's true. I have to tell you a funny story. I was inspecting this old, 120-year-old Queen Anne house, and the seller was just following me around everywhere. I could not live. I went to the bathroom. I went to crawl space. Couldn't shake him. So finally, I'm like, well, I got to create conversation with this guy. So I'm like, this older house, a lot of these older houses have ghosts. You got any ghosts? Guy didn't say a word, Paul. And I said, well, I don't put that on the inspection report, right? Guy still didn't say a word. And then I was like, they say that in some cases ghosts make the house more valuable. He said, well, in that case, I have 5. True story. True story. Well, Paul, do you have a training resource or some sort of resource that you'd be willing to share? I mean, that you think would help home inspectors, or an app or just something that you think some home inspectors may or may not know about, but that would be useful to them? I mean, what would you, if a home inspector came up to you and said, you have some sort of resource, besides you, of course,
Uh-huh.
where would you send them? Or what would you tell them?
Actually, when an inspector uses our services, we actually become a big resource for him
Okay.
because he knows that when he calls and calls in, talks to his friendly team of folks. And by the way, one of those 6 people is his account manager, so it's always his go-to person if he has any questions on anything. And he knows that he can call into that person, that account manager on his team, and ask him any questions about, hey, what are other inspectors in my area doing? What are inspectors across the country doing? What are some services you see now that other inspectors are successfully offering that you think I should offer? We offer that advice to him. We never say the name of any other inspectors we serve, but we can tell him, well, in this area of the country, this service is really picking up. There's a lot of guys over there who are mold certified and trained. Maybe you should think about that for your area. Or, we're looking at it here, and we know inspectors in and around your area, they're charging a little bit more for those larger houses. Well, you really might want to think about that. And we offer them advice on things that we see. Again, keeping everything private and confidential. We would never tell. We never cross any inspection companies. We never cross schedule for any inspection company. Never happens. But we can just draw from our knowledge to help him know what services he should maybe think about adding. Or we help him onboard his new inspectors when he brings a new inspector on. We help that new inspector get established and successful. We can also help him with his, hey, with your pricing, we really think you're leaving some money on the table with these larger houses, smaller houses, crawl spaces, older homes. We really think you should maybe add a little bit of your fees. So we help him raise his pricing, and he feels comfortable doing it because he knows we're talking to his agents and clients all the time. We know what their thresholds are.
Sure.
Plus, we see what other inspectors are doing across the country, and we can share things with him that he otherwise wouldn't know.
That's pretty awesome. And when you think about it, you have a vested interest in those companies doing well.
Yes, it's
So,
everybody's benefit.
Yeah, it's a win-win. So you definitely want to help them, and you're right. You see things because if I'm in. I'm from a small town, so I can say this. Podunk, BFB. All I see is things around there, and I may not be aware of some things that are going on. Conferences and stuff are good, but you're on the front lines of everything. Well, Paul, we're just down to our last 3 questions. You obviously know a lot about the home inspection business. I want you to answer this question from your knowledge and pretend like you're a home inspector. Say you're a home inspector in a market and you're doing pretty well, but you had to move to a brand new market. And you still had equipment, you still had knowledge, you still had all of that, room and board taken care of. And you had $5,000 to start again. Everything's paid for. The main thing is you just don't know anybody. So it's basically marketing. You have $5,000 to market in an area you don't know anybody. What are you doing with that $5,000? So basically, what are you going to get the best return on your investment?
Okay.
$5,000.
Okay. So one thing I would do is hit the numbers, hit the research. Actually, a couple of different things I do. One thing I would do is I would quickly make friends with other inspectors in that market. And it might be through the local ASHI or NAHI chapter. It might be if you're an InterNACHI member. It might just be getting on the forums and finding who's in the area. Because inspectors, you guys are wonderful people. You love to share with each other. I've always been amazed how inspectors share with each other, even their local competitors. That's one thing I would do, because that doesn't cost any money. Second thing I would do is now through those inspectors and through my own research, I would learn the lay of the land on who are the key agent offices in that area.
Okay.
And then, of course, I would start out with the good old-fashioned, get in front of them, handshake, belly to bellies, I think. And get to know them. Okay. So yes, I have to buy some lunches. I'm going to have to get my marketing materials together, and that's going to chew up a little bit of the 5,000. But I would get out there and really make myself known. Then, and this is going to sound a little self-serving, but we just see it work over and over again, is make sure your phone is professionally answered.
Sure. Absolutely.
So when that real estate agent first calls and says, okay, I'm going to give this guy a try, they're not getting a voicemail. They're not getting you in a hurry. They're getting your office, so much so the agent says, where's this guy been all my life? He's got an office. Preston, you know this. Real estate agents are busy professionals too. Yeah. They want to get stuff done.
Right.
And they want to be able to call an inspector and get it done. A lot of inspectors will tell me, well, my agents love to text me. The reason they're texting you, Mr. Inspector, is because you can't answer the phone, and that's the only way they know they can get a message to you. If you bring an office on, your agents will do somersaults, because now they know that you've got an office where they can call and get it booked, they can get the price quote, they get your availability, they can get their job done.
Right.
And they can get that house sold and closed faster, they get their client taken care of. It's not voicemail tag. So one of the things I would do if I was an inspector moving into a new market, one of the things I would do is I would make sure that I'm having someone professionally answer my phone. I know in America's Call Center we could do a great job at it, but that's one of the things I would do too. I would put money into that. So those are the things I would do. The three things I would do. To because we see this all the time. There's inspectors that use us that have never answered their phone. They started using us from the very first day
That's
they
smart.
put as a beginner. You think a beginning inspector wouldn't? That's the very first thing they did. And I could name off boom, boom, boom of inspectors who are now one of the largest, are the market share leader in their cities.
Wow.
And that's the way they start out. They've never handled their phones. So I've seen it work over and over. We've had inspectors who have moved. Exactly what the scenario you laid out to me. We have seen that with inspectors who have actually moved. They got to start all over again. They're a
Right.
20-year veteran. They moved into a market. They got to start all over again because maybe they're tired of the north and they just moved down south. They want warm weather. That's where they're going to retire. So we help them build their businesses back up again.
Don't move to Charlotte, all the folks. We got enough inspectors. Just kidding. No, good stuff, good stuff. Well, is there anything, Paul, that I should have asked you that I didn't?
Well, let me see. You've done a really good job. You're very well prepared for these, Preston. I can tell you've done many of these.
Yeah, I've done a few.
No, you've been very thorough. You've been very kind to me. You've asked some great questions. I could talk. You and I could probably sit here and talk for many hours, but I know we don't have that time. But you've done an excellent job. I just really appreciate you having
Oh,
me
yeah,
on here
no
today.
problem. Was there anything you'd like to ask me?
Yeah, I'd like to ask you,
Oh,
how did you get into
this is
home
not
inspecting?
rehearsed.
How did you get into home inspecting? I mean, you're the kind of guy that probably could have been a sales and marketing manager for any company you would have named. You're the kind of guy that probably could have done anything. How is it you became a home inspector?
Well, that's a good question. Thank you for asking, Paul. Well, I was a school teacher, and my wife and I were both school teachers. That's how we met. And I started doing inspections for a company in the summer. Well, I actually started out doing termite work to begin with. I mean, that
Yeah.
was like, I don't, you ever done, are you familiar with that business?
Oh yeah,
It's,
oh yeah,
oh,
that's brutal.
it's hard labor stuff, but I was doing that in the summer and doing inspections. And the guy I was working for said, he would match what I was making teaching, which wasn't a whole lot. But I was tired. I loved teaching, but you just, when you look at that after 40 years, you can retire making $42,000 a year, and I'm just like, what?
What?
Yeah, that's topping out with a master's degree. So I started doing inspections, and I got started getting all my licenses, and then I eventually went out on my own. So that's pretty much it, And my wife, she was going to go back to teaching after we had our second child. Our second child went to school, but at that point I needed an administrative person, so now I work for her.
There you go.
So I was working for the man, now I'm working for the woman. The woman.
But virtually that woman is your wife, That's right.
Absolutely.
So let me ask you one other question.
Sure.
So now you run a highly successful multi-inspector company in the Charlotte area, right?
Right.
So what advice would you give to an inspector who is either beginning or is a busy single inspector thinking, I really want to get to be multi-inspector and be kind of like in his market what you are in your market? What are the two or three things you would advise them to do that'd be most important to get them there?
Hire people that can do the things that do what you do. I mean, there's something. Take that disc profile.
Yeah.
That I think is awesome. You have strengths and weaknesses, and hire people who are good at what you're weak at, and not try to do it all. I mean, that was my problem for the longest time, and I was stuck at a certain level because I had to do it all. Control, whatever you want to call it. But eventually, I figured out. There's people who are better at accounting than me.
Mm-hmm.
Why am I trying to do my own
Yeah.
work?
Yeah.
There's people who are better at answering the phone than me. Why am I doing that? And I think you actually said it yesterday, which I absolutely agree. You got to figure out what your time's worth. Whatever. I mean, think about doing an inspection. If your average inspection fee is $450, takes you 3 hours. I mean, your time's worth what, $120 an hour or something. So
Yeah.
why are you doing something you could pay somebody $15 an hour to do?
Exactly.
And if you're doing that, there's not many neurosurgeons that mow their own grass. You know what I mean?
That's good. That's
And
good.
in fact, I'm sure if that neurosurgeon mowed his own grass, it would take him 2.5 hours, and somebody who mows grass all the time takes him probably 20 minutes because he's better at it. So I guess just hire people that are better at things that you're not good at, and figure out what your time's worth, and focus on your highest value activities. And the more you can focus on that, the more successful you're going to be, and pay people to do the things that that you're not. I mean, we're not good at everything. We're just not.
So maybe the whole tagline on that might be is is find people and systems to put in place to do the things that you don't like to do or is not a good use of your time so you can do what you enjoy most.
Right.
And if it's a home inspector, the reason he got into home inspecting was to inspect and run his own company,
Right.
and then he could do those two things better. And that's what
Absolutely.
you've done.
Yeah.
And then you brought other inspectors on so that you can share it with them and your company continue to grow. That's exactly what you've done.
Yeah, you only have so much bandwidth, Paul, and if you're clogging it with low value activities, I mean, you said you said it yesterday. Like you're getting in your own way. You've
Yep.
got to get out of your own way.
Get out of your own way. Get out of the center of that wheel, or else you're the hamster. You know the old hamster on a wheel.
I've been the
Get out of
hamster
the
for a while.
Get out of the center of that wheel.
I didn't come. It took me a while to figure that out. I was hard headed.
All of us, me too.
Well, Paul, you've been more than gracious. How do we find out more about you? If some of the listeners want to contact you, find out more information, how can they get in touch with you?
Very easy. You can go to americascallcenter.com. You could also give us a call at 888-462-6153. Or you can always email me directly, paul@americascallcenter.com.
Awesome. Tell us the email and the number one more time.
The email address or the website is americascallcenter.com.
Okay.
Our main number is 888-462-6153. And to reach me personally, it's Paul, Paul, at americascallcenter.com. There's also a contact us form on our website
Okay.
where a lot of inspectors reach us through that when they want to have information. Myself, Danny, or Kim, there's several of us. I'll take our time explaining everything to you and really help see what kind of benefits we can provide the inspector to give him more time back, reduce his stress, get more inspections, and more add-on service per inspection. And here's a guarantee I would make to any inspector. If after using us for a couple months, 3 months, if we are not doing any of those things I just mentioned, giving you time back, reducing your stress, getting you more inspections, more add-on services, more so than the cost of our services, then discontinue. There's no contract you're signing with us. We're not getting married. At the drop of a hat, you could say, Paul, you're nice people, but it's not penciling. In fact, I would even give you all your money back.
Awesome.
Because we just know from 18 years of experience at doing this that it pays off for the inspector in one or all four of those things that I had mentioned. So much so that I will back it with a guarantee.
Awesome. Well, Paul, you've been more than generous with your time. I appreciate it, and I will catch you on the next conference. I mean, we see each other a couple times.
See each other all the time, and it's always a pleasure.
All right. Thanks a lot, Paul.
Thank you, Preston.
Thanks for checking out the Successful Home Inspector podcast. You can find show links at thesuccessfulhomeinspector.com. Check out the website for special offers, information, and other resources. Thanks again for listening to the Successful Home Inspector podcast. And remember to check back for new episodes. The Successful Home Inspector podcast is brought to you by Preston Sandlin and Home Inspection Carolina.